Again, this is the final piece of today's agenda. So welcome.
Thank you.
Mrs. Miller, glad to have you. Well, the way I'd like to do this, start off with the goals and objectives, talk a little bit, because things have changed, about the organization structure, and then get into the financial piece, and then talk about critical items.
Very good.
Okay? Floor is yours.
Okay, very good.
What page are we on first?
56 and 57.
Okay.
Are you gonna do parking first or chairman?
We'll do parking first since Billy's here.
Page is parking.
If that's our, oh, is that okay? And actually parking is
Parking looks like that 127. I'm having trouble seeing that.
137.
137.
37.
37. Like that. Gotcha.
Good to go.
Do this right here.
There we go. Everybody there? All right.
Page on the sheet.
Is there a sheet with the goals on it in the budget book at all?
That's probably
Page
up.
137.
Oh my God, here, Mayor.
Done that to you twice. You got one. Is there any goals for?
Is it up, is it maybe up in the front, under
we're just-
procurement?
Not that
No.
did you submit some?
Oh.
Yeah,
I haven't
wherever they
looked
are,
through
we'll
this.
find them and put them where they should be. But that doesn't help today. I don't know
No,
where they are
let's find them.
today.
Let's find them. Do you have them there?
I do have them.
Then why don't you read them, and we will
Certainly.
listen
Okay.
intently.
Okay, very good. Okay. We identified 8 different goals for the parking authority for FY18. I'll go through them quickly and then touch on just a couple of the highlights, okay?
Yep.
The first was to achieve a self-supporting parking authority fund, increase transient parking utilization by 10%, increase permit usage capacity, increase permit usage to within 75% of capacity, complete necessary projects to improve and maintain the downtown parking garage and city surface lots, undertake a parking study to provide best practice strategies for efficient parking utilization and financial stability of the Parking Authority Fund, research and assess the viability of updated parking solutions for the city's surface lots, parking garage, and on-street parking, research technological advances and improve the parking citation procedure for increased efficiency and customer-friendly payment options, and lastly, continued engagement with the Central City District Commission to realize the city's vision to enhance the parking experience within the city of Salisbury. So of those different goals, I'll just touch on a couple that we track within parking, certain metrics. Increasing transient utilization parking by 10%. Again, that being a metric that we track along with some other things. Let me pull up my metrics. To look at transient parking utilization, we look at the revenue that we generate in parking meters, and we also look at the average daily car count at the parking garage and parking lot number 1. Those are areas that we can track. Revenue from metered parking is actually flat year over year right now. So we haven't met that goal of increasing the transient utilization by 10%. Looking at the average daily ticket count of transient cars that come in and out of parking lot 1, where they take tickets, or the parking garage. Now, this is not counting people that have permits, okay? That usage is up about 2% year over year, okay? One of the other metrics we're looking to track is increasing the permit usage to within 75% of capacity. Throughout the city, we currently have about 1,500 permit-only parking spaces. where the customer will pay the city a certain monthly stipend to park there on a monthly basis. We currently have about 1,100 active permits right now. So that brings us to just under 76% utilization for our permit parking spaces. And why I say that we're tracking some of these metrics is one of the CIP items that we're looking at for FY18, and we'll go a little bit more into this, is having a parking study done for downtown that will look at our current capacity, and we'll look at utilization, and we'll hopefully do some forecasting to see where we may need to be in 5 years, 10 years, et cetera, to make sure that we have sufficient parking for the downtown businesses.
Question, because this could start a whole new 1 hour discussion, but I'll try to keep it quick. When they do the parking study, because you said we're at 76% capacity of permitted
Permits,
lots,
right.
permitted spots. Will that also include, are they in the right place? In other words, if you have a lot that's too remote currently, does it make sense to do something else with the lot, for instance?
Sure, and that's something that we can ask them to address in the scope of work,
Okay.
the location of where that parking is.
And the other thought when I saw the original budget is, if we're at 76%, is it a question of fee or is it a question of location? And if it's a question of fee, could we increase the percentage by reducing the rates and encouraging more people to do it? Maybe that's something for the study as well. Because at 76%, you got some room. From, just a thought. But, okay,
Okay,
okay.
certainly. And that about covers it for the different goals that I wanted to talk about. Next, you wanted to talk, oh, go ahead.
No, I got one more question.
Oh, sure.
Which I've asked the whole time. You probably can answer that, but, based on your goals, the financials that we'll be looking at in this budget, are they significant, are they sufficient enough to allow you to meet your goals?
Yes,
The funding, okay. Thank you.
yes. Okay. So, kind of the big news with parking is, starting with fiscal year 18, there will be a reorganization. Parking will no longer fall under procurement and parking. Parking will fall under field operations, and the parking enforcement part of it may likely go to the police department. Hence why Mr. Starling's with us today, because he would be assuming my role for the parking operations.
Okay. Do you have anything you'd like to?
No, I've witnessed the parking aspect of it from afar, so it'll be a learning process. Where I have had past experiences with some maintenance issues with parking, so hopefully the fact that we're with field operations, it'll add a little extra leverage with the maintenance aspect of parking. But the meters and the new proposals we have for the pedestals, it'll be a learning process.
Yeah. The new meters,
We've committed with a vendor.
right?
To purchase them. They're just about ready to go. We've identified the locations within the city. I have to formalize that map. It's just kind of handwritten right now. And then we have to work on the site prep for the first locations that we want to put down. We'd like to test a location or two before they're rolled out on Main Street. Main Street's been delayed.
Right, so,
That was where they were initially intended to go first.
right.
On the first buy, because we felt then that we would have some additional funds because of the savings we were able to achieve. We actually were able to get 4 additional pay stations. So we are looking to put one down near Acorn Market near Lot 15, 2 possibly over by Lot 12, and 1 or 2 over by Lot 4. So we've identified where physically they would be placed. It's now a matter of working with vendors to get quotes, to get the site prep done, because the concrete has to be thick enough so when that they're bolted down, you can't just push a machine over.
Or take them away.
Or yes, or take them away.
It's the same one we saw at Station
Yes.
16?
Yep,
Boy, that's a great,
same one, same one. None of that's changed. The idea is still a pay-by-plate scenario, so
Right.
there is no visible ticket on the dash. It will absolutely be a learning curve.
yeah.
We've been working with a local vendor to design a rack card that will be given out to businesses. Really great marketing concept around basically a know your plate number,
Yep.
and it's how you pay to park in downtown.
Could this also be app-based, like for your phone?
It will be app-based, and
You can-
hence why we were not going to use the display method, because if you pay on your phone, you won't have anything to display anyway.
Okay.
So we felt it would be a little more cumbersome for a parking enforcement officer to either have to check the dash or the plate
Yeah.
to know if the parking's been satisfied.
Right.
So this way, it's just, it's checking plates. So there's a back office system that the parking enforcement officers will have, they can access via their phone, that they'll know which plates have been paid and which plates haven't been. There will be a learning curve there for
Yeah.
the parking
Yeah.
enforcement officers, certainly.
Will it also be app-based for the customer?
Yes,
So you
Yes.
can be inside.
Yeah, you can
If your
re-up.
time's expired, you can re-up and.
Yes,
Is
so-
there a certain time limit on that parking?
So right now, the meters are, I think there's some 20-minute meters, there's some 30-minute meters, there's some 1-hour meters, there's some 2-hour meters. We have to figure out how we want to do that. If we want to still have certain zones where there is only going to be, say, 30-minute parking, and you cannot re-up in that zone.
Okay,
And you can
that's the
change-
question,
and you-
that's the question that I wanted to ask you, because I noticed in Florida, when my sister and I, we were parked at a location and it was like an hour, but we couldn't go over 3 hours.
Right.
Right.
Like
There's-
district court. I think where people got dinged a lot of time, where you would go into court and you parked out there, and you
You-
could
you
be in
could-
court
right.
for 30 minutes, or you could be in court for 3 hours. And, you know, people can't sometimes just leave court to go put a quarter in
Right.
the meter. And I think that's one where you would want the ability to have, you know, a longer timeframe.
And these, if I remember correctly, you can program each of these, so if you want to change, if it changes, and you want to change from 3 hour, you can go ahead and do it.
You can, you just have to be very careful about identifying your zones
Right.
and how long you're allowed to park
Yeah.
for, say, in any one zone. It gets a little tricky, not so much necessarily for a parking lot, because that's a very designated area that you can say, okay, here you have 2 hours. When you
Or-
start to get, say, on street
street
parking,
parking,
now what do you do about the side streets?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what about in front of the post office?
But my point was that they're all programmable to
Yes.
whatever you want.
They
So you
are.
don't have to change them out. You just-
Correct,
All you
yes.
do is go in and, so once you buy the unit, if you change it,
Yeah.
if you want to change it every year for 3 years, you can do that
Yeah.
by programming it as opposed to physically changing the meter, correct?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
it's a
I
programming
understand what
Yeah.
thing where you
you're
can
saying.
go
Yeah.
in, we could try,
Yeah.
you know, 30 minutes in one spot.
Right.
But if we see that
That's not
people tend to be
compensating
there
people.
longer, we can change it to an hour, or
Right.
45 minutes or
But
whatever.
it's like this too, if you know you're going in court, and those areas are designated to a certain time, then to me, it would be more appeasing to me for you to go park where you have longer parking. Because when you go to court, you don't know how long you're gonna be in there
Yeah.
anyway, so you would go to an hour, or 2 hour, or 3 hour parking area. I mean, just pay it, I mean,
Right. Well, the other
I would
op,
rather be safe than sorry.
and really, if you want to park for longer than 2 hours, say in downtown Salisbury, then you head to the parking garage.
Right.
Want to
Yeah,
park for
encourage
longer?
them.
Mhm, that's right.
Head to the parking garage.
somewhere
It's, you know, it's within a couple blocks of,
Well, I mean, I just know that
Anywhere
that one
downtown.
parking lot is used, you know, well, the one directly in front of the courthouse.
Sure, sure.
That fills
Mhm.
up quickly, and everybody parks in the other one.
Mhm.
And again, that's kind of like the overflow parking for that,
Mhm.
where people can be there for hours.
Okay, let's move.
Okay.
Move on.
all right. Do we want to go right to the budget or to the CIP items?
Let's go to the budget.
Okay. All right.
Is that on 50,
Yes, page 140 up.
140?
Yeah, 140.
I'll wait till you're there.
Yeah, getting there. Okay.
Okay. Um, Now, I'm sorry, how have you all been going over this? I don't want to, is there any
Well-
particular
Well,
area you want me to
sort-
jump
we've been-
in?
We've been struggling because we're used to comparing year over year, and in some of the cases, you can't do that anymore.
Okay,
So,
Okay.
once you hit the highlights and look, personnel services, looks like we're okay. There's been no transfers of, or has there?
great. No, not in,
Okay, so. that
not what we initially planned when the budget was done.
Okay,
That may change slightly based on where parking enforcement.
gotcha,
One,
okay.
one transfer actually did occur, a portion of Jennifer's salary
Oh, right.
was sent to parking, and now it's all gonna be absorbed in procurement. So, if there's an increase, it's hard for me to see that number. It's
It's
being
405.
offset by.
Yeah, it's
by some-
405,
by
it's a
some of
20,
that, yeah.
20 grand, okay,
Yeah.
so that makes sense. Okay,
A slight increase in operating expenses. We are currently, with the parking garage, in the middle of what's called a condition study. We've had a vendor come in, do concrete testing, look at the mechanical, electrical, HVAC systems in the parking garage, assess the structure. They're analyzing the results. We'll get a study back that will list improvements to look at, you know, short-term, long-term. Also talk a little bit about expected life expectancy of the parking garage, especially the, you know, the older section. We don't know what the recommendations coming out of that will be yet. So there is a slight increase in in the operating expenses. We put kind of a small placeholder in there to cover some of that possible expense.
and I assume the capital outlay is the roof membrane?
There are actually 4 items in the CIP for parking. That is one of them.
Yeah,
I think that was first put on about 2013, right prior to when I got here. They suggest that maybe at the 5-year mark, we start looking at recoding. However, if it's been properly maintained, depending on the usage, it could be as late as, say, FY '20 or even '21 that we would need to look at recoding. The roof was done in 2 sections, so we wouldn't necessarily do the whole roof all at once. Again, it would be half and half. So we did put a CIP placeholder in to do that parking garage roof membrane.
okay.
That there for you.
Yep.
Jennifer,
Oh, okay.
if you wanted to follow that.
Yep, thank you. The other thing is the parking study, which I've already touched on, that will look at capacity versus utilization. Also put a placeholder in, additional parking meters for downtown that would cover all of downtown. When, we initially started to look at new pace, or the concept of pulling up meters on Main Street because of the streetscape project, and putting pay stations in, our blinders were on, and we were really only looking at addressing Main Street. And the administration has asked, well, what would it take to get rid of meters everywhere and put pay stations in?
Gotcha.
And then last but not least, in the parking garage, we are looking to upgrade the security camera system. The cameras are older. Right now, the cameras are focused on, say, the entrance points to the garages, either where vehicles come in and go, or at the stairwells, but we don't have, say, a line of sight down the drive aisles or additional cameras. We did in this past year have the cameras that we do have serviced, cleaned. They're actually now being monitored by the PD. And we do have a lifetime screen at the parking garage as well. So those are the CIP items that are planned for the parking
Okay.
for FY18.
Good.
And were these in the parking garage that you said these cameras were?
We do have cameras there now. This would add to the cameras and replace the ones that we have with newer cameras. One last item that is not on the CIP, but something that we are looking to analyze is an auto attendant feature, either for Lot 1 and/or the parking garage. The thought of when you exit, it is a pay kiosk, that there is no personal attendant there, that everything is automated. So we're looking at analyzing the cost there, the cost benefit.
A lot of places do that, I know.
SU's got it.
Yeah, my brother lives in Santa Monica, and that's how their parking garages are, most of them anyway.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you have any other questions about parking?
Nope. Nope.
Okay, very good.
Do you have any more questions about parking? Okay, let's move on.
We can either go to the GOB or procurement.
Whatever you like, just get me to the page.
Good.
Okay, GOB.
Sure.
Thanks, Bill. Yep. Take care.
Which one did you choose?
She said GOB, I heard
Okay.
GOB.
right.
Talk about the
Do you have a
GOB.
page number for that?
I'm gonna find it.
GOB, let's see. $74? No? No?
Yeah, municipal buildings.
Yeah, that's it,
Municipal building?
74.
74.
Yeah, see that? Can read. Okay,
Okay, very good. All right, as far as the goals for the government office building, they usually remain, or they have remained pretty consistent year over year, in that we work in conjunction with the county to fund the operations of the building, whether it be maintenance items, capital improvement items, or security personnel. Increasing the effectiveness and the efficiency through a comprehensive maintenance program. The county really does oversee the maintenance through their general services department, and I work in conjunction with them to help establish the budget, and we talk about different maintenance items that are needed for the government office building. Providing proper physical security measures for GOB employees while maintaining a business-friendly environment. monitoring energy usage and seeking continual improvement, seeking cost savings through an effective procurement plan there as well. I work very closely with general services for the county and with their procurement department. Just to give you a quick idea of how this comes to light sometimes, they are working right now on some improvements to the third floor, ceiling, lighting, carpeting, painting, and whatnot. To save about $6,000, the county's actually going to be doing some of the demolition themselves. So they as well are really invested in saving money for operations within the building.
So the maintenance of the building is done through the budget on an annual basis? There's no
Yes.
MOUs regarding maintenance coverage of unexpected?
I don't know what the original MOU looks like between the county and the city. But to sort of answer your question, yes, it is addressed on an annual basis. We don't have an annual MOU. There may be
Gotcha.
a greater MOU that
Are
talks
you
about
aware of
that.
how that
I'm not aware of any document. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. I can do some digging and see if we have something.
Yeah.
That may be rolled up in that document that talks a little bit about kind of who bought it, who owns it,
Right.
who's paying for what.
That's where I would assume it would be.
From a practical standpoint, each year, General Services and Procurement works with us, and they submit a list of what their expectations are, and then they bill us for the actual cost. So they send us a printout, and then we pay half.
Yeah,
of those costs.
I'm more concerned about large ticket items that happen during the year that were not foreseen.
So far, since I've been here, it's been pretty consistent. There hasn't been anything really that's arisen, that's been out of the ordinary or really unexpected since I've been here.
Okay. That's something we should look at, though.
I'll check into it.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions about the priorities? Okey doke.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The county does submit a proposed budget to us for maintenance, capital improvement items, security items, and most all of the items that they've requested to be funded for this coming year have been addressed. There may be a couple that we need to go back on, and I would ask to see if we could, possibly look at some additional cost savings.
Okay. Any organizational changes that you want to bring us up to, or is there anything that's impactful that we should know about?
As far as on the county side, general services, the maintenance of the building has changed hands a little bit. Weston Young, their Director of Public Works, that's the right title, now oversees it. There's a point person that I work with more on a weekly basis, and that's been really good. The lines of communication have opened up a lot.
Good.
A lot more transparency there. And their procurement department is just great to work with. So it's usually,
Good.
it's been much better. There was a little bit of a lag there because of the transition that has been experienced on the county side over the last few years, but we're moving in the right direction, certainly.
Good. All right, let's look at the budget. This one looks a lot, there's been no changes here, right? In terms
No.
of the,
No.
something leaving,
No,
okay,
yeah,
I can tell.
Things aren't moving around.
Yay, I found the sheet, okay. Okay,
So I guess the one question on the budget, we've got $20,000 for engineering and architecture for municipal buildings. And
Yes.
that's to look potentially at a new home.
Julia, can you shed some light on that?
Yes. We put it in the goals, it's out there now. I mean, we would like you all to approve this funding so we can start planning for the future, and maybe a new home
I
someplace.
know that there's been some offline conversations
Mhm.
from the other government that shares the building, so
Yeah.
they,
Yeah, it would be nice to be able to pull everybody under one roof,
Yeah.
all civilian employees, and then we'd save some money on rent as
would
well.
that be, would, I mean, who, I mean, if doing this, whatever structure, are we looking at bringing housing community development in? Everybody comes in one building, we're not spread out in,
Yeah, I mean, police,
different-
fire, and field ops would remain out, but
Yeah,
IT and,
yeah.
and HCDD would come back. Susan will probably be sad to leave for new space, but we would keep the visitor center as a separate entity as of right now.
Yeah.
That's what we're thinking.
okay, yeah. No, I mean, that's, I know it's at some point this was gonna be coming, and I think as we look at, you know, the county has the same desires to pull
Mhm.
everybody that they have under one roof.
Yeah.
Okay. let's-
Okay, very good.
Ready to move on?
Okay. Last department's procurement.
And also Poplar Hill was under this as well, but there's not any major changes in Poplar Hill.
No.
No, at all.
Just for the record.
Poplar Hill's under where?
Under,
Under,
Under-
Apparently it came in the,
parking.
under the municipal
municipal
building
Municipal building.
Jail.
Oh, okay.
portion. I don't
Um,
oversee Poplar Hill, so I can't answer.
Currently, it is being managed by Public Works, and it will go to field ops, so we'll make that change.
okay.
Okay. Procurement goals.
Okay. Again, here I'll highlight just a few of the goals for you. Maintaining an average savings of 5% on all of our competitive solicitations and purchase orders, and track local spending and try to achieve 2% of a local spend for our procurements. Again, these are metrics that we're able to track and report on a monthly basis. And I did bring some results just for fun to share with y'all.
Because you knew I was going to ask.
So for instance, let's see, the numbers that I pulled, oh, look at this, I pulled January, February, and March. So let's just talk a little bit about cost savings. When we look at all of the purchase orders that we cut in the month of January, we had achieved almost a 10% savings. And how we look at that is we manually track every PO that has to be competitively quoted. So anything over $1,000 should get 3 vendor quotes. So we look at the lowest versus the highest, and that becomes our savings. There are different ways to analyze that depending on who you talk to. Some take an average versus the lowest. I take the highest versus the lowest. It's just gonna change your end result, but that's how I track it. So January, it was just under 10%. That's of all purchase orders, okay? February was about 11.4%, and March was 12.42%. We also break that down a little bit further, and we look at competitive solicitations, those that are valued at $25,000 or more, and we've put out on a formal solicitation. We've advertised it. Sometimes they're the ones that if it's over $100,000 that I present to council for an award of bid. For January, our savings there was almost 14%. That savings number does get rolled into the total of all purchase orders. So 14% of a savings for solicitations. What that translates to is then that 10% for all purchase orders.
Okay.
Okay?
So this is apples to apples. That's how you set your goals, so it's apples to apples. So this is, your goal's too low.
No, we had to start somewhere.
I'm just saying.
In February,
But that's good, very good performance though, so.
yes.
Congratulations.
And we have to thank all the departments too, because our using departments, our procurement structure is somewhat decentralized in that our using departments are the ones that are going out and getting the quotes for this service or that item. We make sure that, A, if they can't get what they need, we try and facilitate that, so that we meet our goals.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
just wanted to give you a little bit of information there. As far as tracking local spend, I can tell you that this is a report that looks at all invoices. So not just purchase orders that we cut, because there may be, a $200 invoice or a $400 invoice that doesn't come through
Right.
procurement, but that goes through finance. So this report actually looks at all invoices. So in January, we spent 6% locally. In February, we spent 7% locally. And in March, this is funny, 8%. Every month we spend a little bit more locally.
So 2%. See,
All right, maybe
we're
next year
not
we'll
in
make it
business,
3.
okay, no.
So it's good data to have.
That's good, yeah.
Really good data to have.
How's our, we have that procurement, was it 2 years ago, we put in the preferred,
Preference
Preference?
policy.
how's that working?
We don't often utilize it. A, I don't think we need to. B, a procurement preference, if anything, will limit competition. We want to be as open as possible. We've used it on 1 or 2 solicitations, but haven't seen that it's been all that viable. It hasn't attracted more business, and quite honestly, where it has, it didn't do enough for that procurement to be able to select, say, that the small business or the disadvantaged business.
We'll take that offline sometime, because I think that the goals the reason for doing it may be in conflict with your, am I making sense? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, it does. The National Institute for Government Procurement, I will say, also feels the same way, that it's in conflict with competition, setting a preference. But yes, we can certainly take it offline and talk more about it.
Yeah, because I think that the way that when we passed it, we had one concept of why we were doing it, and I think that if we totally say it doesn't fit, then are we really doing the target of who we were gonna help isn't getting the help? So we can take that offline, that's a whole different discussion.
Certainly.
Okay, I'll make a note so that we don't forget that.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Other questions about the goals?
Okay,
Standard question, your budget reflects your ability to do this?
yes.
Okay. I'm just not asking, by the way, I ask everybody that question, so you don't feel
Understand.
that we're doing it just because it's you.
Okay. Okay, so I see up on the screen there is a slide.
Yep.
This is our current structure. My title right now is a little bit different, Assistant Director of Internal Services, Procurement and Parking. With the reorganization, I will just be Director of Procurement. The 3 positions under me will remain constant. Which leads me into the budget and my, whether they're called essential items or critical items. I do very much want to express my gratitude for the council's consideration of reclassifications that I've requested in the FY18 budget. And those reclassifications are for the 3 positions that are in procurement: the senior buyer, the buyer, and the buyer assistant. We've looked at comparable market rates. We've looked at how their positions have morphed and grown over the past several years, more services that we're providing to the using departments. Again, reanalyzed their positions, looked at the job descriptions, updated job descriptions, worked with human resources to do that. And as such, I did put in a request to reclassify those positions. It's been somewhat difficult to keep personnel in the procurement department because of the current grade. I've had people leave and go
What was your turnover rate? Do you know?
very high.
Like,
Since I started 3 years ago, now,
how many changes?
everybody except me and one other person is completely
Changed
new.
once?
Oh, well,
What?
so the buyer has been there less than a year. The senior buyer has been there less than a year.
Due to
The
retirement-
buyer,
Due to retirement.
yes, I had two leave because of retirement. So I'm not gonna factor that in. I had another position leave for a 1 grade increase within the city. Somebody who'd been with the procurement department for several years. I've found it's very difficult to attract the right type of talent we need for procurement because it's very specialized.
So this number reflects the increase over 2017. There were no transfers, so this reflects the reclass.
That's true. It does include a transfer, in from parking. So there was about, because part of the assistant director's salary was allocated to parking. Some of that came in, seemed like about $13,000 or $14,000 of salary moved into this line,
Oh, okay.
and that was.
That makes
Yeah.
more sense.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that entire 50 that you're looking
Because
at.
50,
Yeah, no.
50 in reclass, I was about to go. Okay,
No, you
So
can
there
see,
was
in the
a-
detail report, you can see the individuals.
Yeah. okay. I'm good.
Okay.
You're good.
And I really don't have any other essential items or critical items, whatever they're called.
That's good.
Great job.
Okay,
That's good.
very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We'll look at those goals next. I would do that. That was one of my, oh, so your goals are too low. Oh, no. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Anything, so we have another session next Tuesday.
No, May 16th.
No, sorry,
2
May
weeks.
16th. Finance, Human Resources, Business Development, talk about debt service and probably rehash, and then we'll cover our questions and things that we want to revisit. So if you think about when we come, have those issues that we said we were going to talk about later on. For instance, the Maryland Food Bank as one example.
Yeah.
But there's others that we wrote down, so if you can combine and bring those with you ready to go, then we should be able to wrap it up on the 16th. Okay? Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, we're done. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.